Bank on it. Nico Iamaleava will be Tennessee's best leader at quarterback since Peyton Manning. Boom. And here's why I think that, in addition to all the other things I've been told about Nico from day one. Now, I passed over a lot of guys like Dobbs, like Hooker, but I'm going to tell you why. First, Caleb, if you want to pull this clip up from Kelsey Pope, I think it carries an awful lot of weight. Here's Kelsey Pope. I'll go ahead and share that, and then boom, bango.
All right, here we go.
I'll tell you this. I played quarterback in high school and college, and I played receiver at a high level for a long time. I've seen a handful of guys that receivers want to go play for, and you can see it, you can sense it. They love playing for that guy, like absolutely love playing for him. It's infectious in practice. It's obviously easy in the game because the crowd's there and there's adrenaline, but they absolutely love playing for that guy. And as talented as he is, he's an even better teammate and a better leader.
Okay, there you go. What do you make of that very strong statement?
I think that's a very, very, very strong and very true statement. And I'm going to go a step further. I think for college, Nico Iamaleava is a better type of leader to have than Peyton Manning because he's nicer. And let's call it what it is, Dave. I think Peyton Manning's leadership struck the fear of God in a lot of players. And honestly, for college kids, that doesn't make them always play as well around him. And I think Nico has got a little bit more of a, let me uplift everybody. We're all in this together. And, I'm going to push you. It's much more of a Hendon Hooker style vibe. Is that fair to say?
Yes. I think Hendon Hooker was more outspoken than we gave him credit for. I think Nico will be that. He's getting there, but that's not his nature. And that's fine. But it's not as if he's so introverted that he could never do it. I'll give you a great example. Josh Ward hosts a talk show talk show every day, and he's called himself an introvert. And you wouldn't know it listening to him on the radio. You wouldn't know that Nico is an introvert if he is. But I believe that he will be Tennessee's best leader since Hendon Hooker, and you can bank on that. Brought to you by Commercial Bank. Now, here's the other reason that I believe that. I think he could have started a ruckus last year in the middle of the season and said, listen, the Joe Milton cat just ain't getting it done. I should take over. He could have started a ruckus and perhaps even forced his way onto the field. Now, that would have created resentment, and he knew that, and that would have been disastrous for not only that season, but his career, and he knew that. But I will tell you right now that I have been in situations in which families have tried to leverage and push coaches on a daily basis for their kids to play more. Now, my answer to that, if I'm one of those coaches, I say, don't call me again. But you really can't do that anymore because of the transfer portal rules. You used to have them chained up. They couldn't leave because they would have to sit somewhere for a year, and then they would have to potentially pay their own way if you didn't release them. So you really can't do that anymore. You can't force your way onto the field, and if you don't, you can leave. So I have no reason to believe he ever did that, which speaks to his character. And Caleb, the way things were going last year, if I'm Nico's dad, I think about it. Don't you? I think about making a call last year and saying, Josh, can I talk to you about something? I think my son can play at a higher level. I think about it. I'm not saying I should, but I think about it.
I think some people's families would. I think Nico's family was very big on wanting him to be protected and not play last year. It's funny you bring that up because Joe Milton was a 6th-round draft pick to the New England Patriots. And the story you're telling, Dave, about families trying to push literally happened with Tom Brady his senior year at Michigan. He was clearly the better quarterback, and Drew Henson, who was a freshman phenom, like the greatest prospect in the history of Michigan football, had signed with the program. And the family was basically saying, you better play Drew Henson or else we're going to transfer him. So Lloyd Carr was alternating starters with Tom Brady and Drew Henson, while Tom Brady was better the entire time, which is why he fell to the 6th round of the NFL draft. And by the way, if they had started Tom Brady the whole season, they go undefeated. And here's a big crazy part. They probably beat Michigan State. Nick Saban admitted as such, and Nick Saban probably never gets hired by LSU.
I thought our bank on it statement of the day, brought to you by Commercial Bank, cbtn.com, would be more highly debated. But so far, nobody seems to think I'm an idiot.
Well, okay, here's the problem with your bank on a statement. You're covering yourself.
Okay, so here's the question. Nico will be the Vols' best leader since, and you can vote on YouTube, Peyton Manning, Josh Dobbs, Hendon Hooker. How am I covering myself?
Because you can't actually track this. You can just always say he was the best leader. Like, you can be like, how do you measure that?
Well, I mean, I can tell you from the reporting. I can tell you from the reporting I did long ago, and through all the time that I've covered Tennessee, nobody did the Peyton Manning thing, which was put up signs and say voluntary workouts during the summer, which was an NCAA violation. So, Caleb, I think you can. I don't think I'm covering myself to be a great.
Trolling you, Dave. I'm just trolling you. You know that.
Okay, I mean, but I think we'll know if he's a great leader. Now, there was one part of my bank on it statement brought to you by Commercial Bank that I had a little bit of trouble with in my mind, because I think Hendon Hooker was a heck of a leader once he got the chance. But he really only had the chance for a season and a half. He wasn't the leader going into the 2021 season. So this leadership that Nico can display is going to be 3 seasons long, not roughly a year and a half. Josh Dobbs, I don't want to shortchange either. I think he was a leader in a much tougher situation. Caleb, you're a big Dobbs guy. How would you compare the two in terms of their leadership skills?
Oh, well, I think Josh Dobbs as a leader was a good leader, but it was more of a cultural thing. Not that Butch Jones had a good culture, but I think Josh Dobbs was just kind of a nice guy type leader. I don't think Dobbs got in a lot of people's faces. I don't think Dobbs was one to really push people to do certain things. But I thought he was a good guy. But maybe that's what Tennessee needed at that moment, because they had a terrible, incompetent head coach who, as you pointed out, was a sociopath. And it's really hard for me with Josh Dobbs because of that. Now, going down the list, I'll just say this, guys, as I've gotten older and covered more teams, and I will give Nico all the credit, but you bring up Peyton Manning and I give him the credit. But after Peyton Manning, T. Martin was a great leader. As a matter of fact, Dave, not as a quarterback, but as just a leader, T. Martin may have been better for Tennessee than Peyton Manning was.
Okay, so shameless plug. You can purchase the book, and I'll give you right now some information from it. But if you would like to purchase the book, Celebrate 98, we've got autographed copies from players. Go check it out. You can use that QR code or go to our merch shop on offthehooksports.com. T. Martin wasn't a leader in 98 when they won it all, as much as the other guys like Al Wilson, Fred White. Right.
Yeah.
But what T. Martin was, and I wrote about this in a column that's going to drop at noon, he was so incredibly well respected. Why? Because he sat an extra year behind Peyton Manning that he didn't think he would have to when Peyton came back for his senior year in 97. So he didn't have to be a major leader in 98. I think he turned into a good leader. But as far as the guy that's going to grab you by the scruff of the neck, I think Hendon Hooker would do that. The get in your face type of guy. I think Joshua Dobbs would do that, but I don't think that was T. Martin's place. So I'm not knocking T. Martin as a leader. I'm just saying I don't think that team needed that.
Well, see, but that's where I'm talking about striking the balance, though, because grabbing the guy by the scruff of the neck. And I'm not trying to I feel like with T. Martin, they needed a quarterback who wouldn't do it, because I thought Peyton Manning did it too much for college. Isn't it fair to say that Peyton Manning, that players almost feared him, and it may have messed up their play a little bit sometimes for the college level, because he was so hard on them?
It's not a terrible point. Oftentimes perfectionists in leadership positions don't do a good job. That's why the best players aren't oftentimes good coaches. And he was a coach on the field. So I'll give you that. So are we saying now that Nico's a better leader than Peyton?
Well, I mean, look, Peyton in the NFL is the best leader you could ever have. But there's a difference between leading an NFL team and a college team, right? And I mean, with the NFL, you want a guy like Peyton to get on your you know what, because also you got money on the line. So I mean, Peyton Manning, if you're a receiver, Peyton Manning may get on you, but he's trying to help you get a big contract. So I mean, like, you should listen to him. So,
Well,
but in college, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
But yeah, in college, I think you got to be a little bit nicer, and there is striking that balance. I mean, look, I'll just tell you straight up. I think Aaron Rodgers only has one Super Bowl because I don't think his teammates are willing to go all out for him in the playoffs, because I think he throws them under the bus too much and he won't accept responsibility. And I think there's a psychological thing where they won't go all in. So look, Peyton Manning was to all from the other side. We're talking about the quarterbacks in Tennessee history. We could say maybe Casey Clausen, you covered him. Maybe he didn't grab people by their throat enough, Casey Clausen, and he should have been a little bit harder on him. I don't know. You were there.
I would agree with that. Yes.
You agree?
That's why Casey wasn't on the list. Casey expected you to do your job. He was a leader by example, which is completely cool. I wouldn't knock Nico if he was that guy. But no, he was not the grab you by the scruff of the neck.
Yeah. Tyler Bray didn't even lead by example. Okay. He couldn't even put himself together to actually not throw beer bottles at cars as a quarterback. So I can give you Nico dating back to Peyton Manning. I can even say better. I think Hendon Hooker is the best leader I've covered that I would say is Tennessee's best leader at a quarterback post Peyton Manning. Not their best quarterback, although some people might make that argument, but definitely the best leader. So do you think Nico could be better than Hendon Hooker as a leader? I think he'll be better as a quarterback for sure, but as a leader?
Yes, I absolutely do. And I think the similarity is that Hendon Hooker thought in the first half of 2021 that he was the better quarterback, and he was probably right, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I think Nico, the similarity is in the second half of 2023, he thought he was a better quarterback. To our knowledge, neither one made a stink. And with a transfer portal, you easily could. You could say, I'm out the door. I'm going to go somewhere else and play immediately because you didn't get me out there when I'm the better quarterback in practice. That's Bank on It, brought to you by Commercial Bank. Again, CBTN right below. We love Commercial Bank. Quality Tire Pros. The Eberle family has been serving Chattanooga's community since 1957. All major brands of tires, full service automotive, brake alignments, oil changes, and more. All work covered by nationwide warranty. Cherokee Blvd or online at qualitytirepros.com, qualitytirepros.com. Stop by and tell Bo that Off the Hook Sports and Dave says hello. Off the Hook Sports and Dave says hello. Now, typically, every Wednesday, we're joined by a very special guest, Jimmy Himes, but he had a previous engagement and he will join us on Friday. So we look forward to visiting with Jimmy on Friday. And his appearances are, as always, brought to you by Ray Varner Ford. This day in Tennessee sports history.
Can I ask a question before we get out of this segment?
Mm-hmm.
Because you've covered these teams. And I just wanted to ask about Tyler Bray, Jared Garantano, even Eric Ainge towards the end when the culture changed. How much is a quarterback leadership? How much are they a victim of just a terrible culture surrounding them? Like, how much was Tyler Bray a victim of just the culture duly established?
Oh, man. I think it's a huge factor. Could Tyler Bray have played for Josh Heupel and be an NFL first-round prospect? Probably.
And what about somebody like, look, Eric Ainge, he had some demons that we know about now, but he also was stuck playing for Tennessee when the culture was falling apart, wasn't he? Under Philip Fulmer.
Yes.
And then there's Jared Garantano with Jeremy Pruitt. I mean, again, terrible culture. So I question, can you give quarterbacks a pass for that? Or do you go look at a Josh Dobbs and say, well, Josh Dobbs was part of a horrible culture and he still found a way to rise to the top?
Have you ever heard the term sports build character?
Yeah.
It's completely not true. Sports reveal character.